Community voice.
Hello and welcome to At Home in Iowa City. I'm your host, Mayor Regina Bailey, on location at Hotel Vetro, Iowa City's only boutique hotel. Hotel Vetro was nice enough to allow us to shoot here today with a great view of Iowa City from a corner guest room on their 6th floor. On today's show, I'll be speaking with Chris Ackerson, Assistant Transportation Planner for the Johnson County Council of Governments, and Mark Wyatt of the Iowa Bicycle Coalition. Our topic is bicycle safety and the efforts that our community is making to become more bicycle friendly. Chris, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Iowa City recently installed or painted sharrows and bike lanes on some streets around town. Talk a little bit about where these are located and what these markings mean.
Well, the sharrows stand for a shared lane arrow, and it's a new type of on-street pavement marking that was recently introduced by the Federal Highway Administration. And Iowa City is one of the few communities in Iowa that's installed these. We recently painted them on Market and Jefferson Street from Gilbert Street to Madison. And they help the cyclists know where on the road they are expected to be by the motorists, and it also helps remind the motorists where there are cyclists on the road and that they should anticipate seeing more of them.
Okay, where do we have bike lanes now?
The bike lanes continue from Gilbert Street on Market and Jefferson and go east to Governor Street, and they also are on the left-hand side. There are a number of reasons why we decided to put the facilities on the left side. Typically, bike lanes and sharrows are on the right side, but because of the parked cars along the right side of the road, we decided to put the facilities on the left so that people are less likely to get hit by car doors opening. And we've also found that the left curb lane is more clear of snow during the wintertime. The area just next to the parked cars oftentimes accumulates snow and sand, and the left curb lane is more clear, so it'll be easier for people to ride during the winter with the bike lanes on the left.
So when I'm riding my bike on Jefferson Street, east of Gilbert Street, do I have to use the bike lane, or is that a suggested? Can I continue to ride my bike on the far right in the right lane?
The city code asks that cyclists ride on the right side in single file, and that is the case when there's a bike lane. When there's not, if the bike lane is on the left side, the cyclists still have the right to ride on the right side to get to their destination.
But if I want a specific designated lane on Jefferson Street, I can ride in that bike lane on the left.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the sharrows, does that require me as a bicyclist to ride in that particular lane?
No, the sharrows are kind of a suggestion. They are typically used on streets where there's not enough road width for a 5-foot bike lane and all of the travel lane for the vehicles. And they don't prohibit cars from traveling over them, but they just remind the motorists that there's not quite enough room for a car and a bike, and that if they're passing a bike, they need to wait and make sure that, that it's clear to do so.
So these are some of our efforts in Iowa City to become a more bicycle-friendly community. What else are we doing in Iowa City to become a more bicycle-friendly community?
Well, Iowa City recently applied to become a bike-friendly community. It's a national designation, and they receive the honorable mention designation. And the three things that the League of American Bicyclists recommended that the city work on are on-street facilities like the new bike lanes and sharrows. They also recommended that the city adopt a bike plan, and the city has been working with the Johnson County Council of Governments to develop a bike master plan. And they also recommended that the city implement more educational programs to help younger people learn how to ride and to follow the rules of the road, and to help educate motorists about how to interact with bicycles safely.
Let's talk a little bit about the bike plan. What does a bike plan entail, and where are we in the process of that?
Well, A bike plan typically includes an inventory of all the facilities and services that are available, and in addition to that, incorporate some sort of public input. We go out and ask the community what facilities and programs they would like to see more of, so that the city councils in our area know that the recommendations that are in the bike plan will be well received, and that the resources they put towards those programs will be popular. So we conducted 2 workshops, and we held an online survey, and we had a total of about 695 people participate in the planning process. And we also conducted a thorough inventory of not only the trails in our area, but also the bike parking that's available, the types of educational programs that we offer. So after the inventory and the public workshops, we put together recommendations, sort of system-wide, that all of the cities and the university and the county can implement, and then we also looked at recommendations that are more specific for each city. One of the bigger recommendations is implementing a series of wayfinding signs along new bike routes that would help create sort of a bicycle boulevard from the outskirts of town to the downtown area, and that would also link up Iowa City with Coralville and North Liberty.
So what's the best way, if you are new to the area, to figure out some of the routes? I know that we do have trail maps, but are there other ways?
I am available. People are welcome to call me and ask for advice on different routes. I help people regularly, even today, find recreational rides or routes to their office or school. In addition to that, they can also contact the Bicyclists of Iowa City. They're a local bicycling club and advocacy group, and they have a lot of resources and would be able to help people new to town.
There's a state law that requires headlights and rear reflectors on bicycles, and that we are considering enforcing that law in Iowa City in the fall. Can you talk a little bit about other laws and enforcement areas that bicyclists should be aware of?
Well, the bike lights and rear reflectors are a safety measure that the state requires, and it's one of the simplest ways for cyclists to be safe on the road. We've done a analysis of all of the bike collisions that have happened in Johnson County in the last 5 years, and of those, none of them had a bike light. In addition to that, bikes in Iowa City are also required to ride as far to the right-hand side of the road as practicable, and also to ride single file so they don't take up the whole travel lane and slow up traffic. Typically, the police department enforces these rules as a sort of a matter of common sense. I think they tend to encourage people through warnings to operate in a courteous manner rather than using tickets to try and get people to follow the rules.
Another important local ordinance is really the bicyclists in the downtown area, which aren't supposed to be on the sidewalks. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the challenges we face each fall as new people come to town in enforcing that and understanding that?
Yeah, when the downtown was redeveloped in the 60s and 70s, the streetscape was designed to be as pedestrian friendly as possible. The sidewalks were built as wide as they could be because we have such a large pedestrian population downtown. In addition to that, the speed limits were set at 20 miles an hour, and in practice, the vehicles probably even go slower than that. So for that reason, the city decided that the bikes would not be allowed on the sidewalks in the downtown business district. And that district is from Gilbert Street to Capitol, from east to west, and then from north to south from Jefferson Street down to Burlington. And it's always a challenge for the police department to enforce this because, like you mentioned, there's always a huge influx of new students each year. And it's also not clear, aside from small signs posted as you enter the central business district, that you're not allowed to ride your bikes on the sidewalks there. So Occasionally in the fall, people will get tickets, and it kind of helps spread the word around that it's preferred that, or it's actually required that people ride their bikes in the streets.